Hello, Taurus. Welcome to your October 2022 tarot card and astrology readings. Okay, Taurus, before we get into the readings, I wanted to introduce some of the changes that I'm making to my channel. So I pre-recorded just a little bit of a message, so let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jane. I am so thrilled to have you here. For the October readings this month, I've done something just a little bit different. So I'm starting to include a new astrology portion to this reading. I feel like that could add so much more value to each and every one of you as you navigate and try to understand how all of this is going down. October is a huge month astrologically. We have a lot of the outer planets starting to move, and we are building up to an eclipse on the 25th. So there's just a lot to really think about and consider. So the timestamp for both the tarot portion and the astrology portion will be found in the description box down below. And this is one of the reasons why I've separated the big monthly video into 12 separate videos instead of just one big long video. And as always, if you are a subscriber, please be sure to log into your account at janeinternational.com, navigate to the blog page, and you'll see all the comprehensives that you've signed up for available there. All right, now with all that being said, let's get into it. Hello, Taurus. Welcome to your October 2022 tarot card reading. So let's go ahead and get started with the Queen of Cups right here, which is the card that signifies what the universe needs from you this month. So the Queen of Cups, the first thing I noticed when I pulled her out was that she is looking in that direction. Okay, she's looking away from like the reading. And I feel that there's a lot of contemplation. The Taurus is a little inaccessible right now. It's very difficult to be available. I don't know that you're going to want to be available. I think you have things going on in your mind, in your heart, that you just got to kind of contend with. No one else can do that for you. No one else can go deep inside of you and find integration and find balance and find love and find healing. And I think that there is this feeling, like there's just something in the air that we are moving into a whole new chapter. I mean, astrologically, obviously, yes, we are. Pluto is moving direct on October 8th. And he's going to be making his way into Aquarius, although that's not happening until March. But like we can tell, people who are attuned to the energy around them, like they just look around and they say, yeah, like things are really changing. And we're reaching a breaking point as a whole, like as a humanity, right? We're reaching a breaking point. And us as individuals, we're reaching breaking points within ourselves. And we're saying, I cannot keep this going. I cannot keep myself in this cycle. I cannot keep myself in this pattern or in this relationship or in this, rat race or whatever it is. And I need to find a way out. But before I can find my way out, I need to have a, what we call a come to Jesus moment. And I do feel as though you're kind of reaching out to a higher power here. You're reaching out to God, the creator, the universe, the higher intelligence, whatever you want to call it, right? You're reaching out and you're saying, help me, guide me, show me. Because I know I have to get over here, but I just want to integrate the Eight of Swords, because this is what would happen if you were to try to figure this all out on your own. There would be one roadblock after the next, after the next, after the next. And it's almost as though you cannot even get out of the web that you yourself weaved. And that's not where Taurus wants to be. You don't want to be trapped in the chaos of your own making. But you can only operate from yourself. And you know that self has a highly filtered and highly curated perspective. And sometimes it's hard to break or to breach the barriers of that paradigm. Sometimes it's hard to even admit that you're in a paradigm at all. It's like you are, but I think there's a lot of admitting that there are a lot of things that you don't know, and you don't know that you don't know. And so humbly, with extraordinary levels of humility, I think you reach out to the universe. You reach out to something bigger and that has more information than you do, to help guide you and make this transition. Because over here we have the World card, which is in the environment, which is a card ruled by Saturn, which suggests a massive turnover. I often say this is like a portal, meaning it's like it's a point of no return, where once we cross that threshold, or once we start building momentum in that direction, the notion of going back to the way it used to be is just now that is an impossibility. There's no going back. There's no rewind. There's no the way it used to be. Like, that's not a thing anymore. There is no safety net with the past. And I think you know that. And so you're wanting to be fully prepared. And the way you're trying to be fully prepared is by cleaning up these swords that have kept you trapped. Swords, as we know, are thoughts, right? We know that thoughts and patternings and beliefs and all of those things, they do keep us confined. I think they play a role to a degree, but there does come a point where those things need to evolve. And you've reached that point. Now, the Lovers, I feel, is a choice, which in the most basic sense, it is a choice. There is a wholeness of self, though. This is a card of Gemini. And Gemini has the twins, right? We have that kind of the light and the shadow kind of thing, but we fully integrate, right? We also have the masculine and feminine represented here. So we fully integrate all aspects of ourselves. We offer ourselves extraordinary amounts of love and compassion, and we do that for other people as well. And I feel like getting Taurus to commit to something right now is going to be really, really, really hard. But if they do commit to something, it's like for like a forever type of thing, or at least for the next 20 years type of thing. I think you feel like a new person, or you're in this process of becoming a new person, which you can sense. But maybe that identity, because with Chiron and Aries, we've all had to like go through this process of learning and healing and like kind of working with our identity to a degree. And we all work with it in different ways, whether we are moving more towards defining ourselves or undefining ourselves. Either way, there is a healing component with each of those. With you, with Chiron in the 12th, I suspect it is like finding self through undefining, meaning you start to remove a bunch of labels that you've placed upon yourself or other people have placed on you. You start to shed those things. You start to sacrifice those things. It's not just that you are a daughter or a mother or a financial advisor, or you are someone that likes to eat, oatmeal over rice or something, right? Those are like preferences. Like, that's not who I am. Those are just things that I prefer. Those are just experiences that I prefer, but that's not who I am, right? So you're starting to like shed all of these layers of identity and coming into a pure self. But sometimes when you are operating from that pure self, it can be an uncomfortable process moving forward because you don't have that shield. Often our identity does act like a shield, something that we can hide in. And I think right now Taurus is exposed, but you don't want something to hide in, because you know what that turns out to be, right? This kind of little mental prison that you've got here, you know what that's about. You've been through that. And what's changing is that you don't want to live like that anymore. You don't want to live so defined. You want to be more free. I think Taurus has really stopped caring a lot what people think. Stop caring about how people see you, and you stop caring about, I don't want to say you stop caring about doing things for other people, but I also am like, yeah, maybe you really have stopped caring about doing things for other people for the sake of doing it for them. You can still do things for other people, but for the sake of the benefit of everyone, including yourself. Taurus is not in a position to self-sacrifice at all right now. That's not in the future plans. Okay, Taurus now is going through a transition of learning how to truly rise to power, and especially when Pluto comes in through that 10th house. You will absolutely see that. Coming into power and really grasping the deepest, darkest core within yourself, and in so doing, playing a role in humanity, which is ultimately for the benefit of humanity. So by being the most pure self, you are then in turn being of levels of service that you never thought you could possibly be, but you're not even really doing anything other than just being yourself. Does that make any sense at all? Sometimes I go on those little rants. And I look at this Knight of Coins, and clearly there's a service component here. But it is slow. This process of becoming for you right now is very slow. It is because it's deliberate. And that's a theme that's been coming out through October as well. Is like there's a lot of deliberate, meaningful, purposeful, intentional, precise decisions that are needing to be made. And a lot of those are about elimination, because this new moon in Scorpio, right? Scorpio is all about elimination. So we have to eliminate more than it is we need to acquire. We can acquire in November, but right now we need to purge. All right? And this Knight of Coins, again, we are being paced. Mars is moving very, very slow. Saturn is moving very slow. Now, Saturn is going to be moving direct on the 23rd, and Mars is going to be going retrograde on the 30th. Okay, so both of them slow, and they're also going in opposite directions. So that's one of the reasons why the energy isn't so straightforward right now for most of us. It's because this transition with Saturn and Mars needs to happen first. And again, this is the world card, same as the environment, ruled by Saturn. You are being divinely transported, though. So this whole like convening or communing with spirit right now is kind of just something that you're going to want to do, not that you need to do, but that you're going to want to do to kind of honor this process of transition that you can sense. And I don't know that it's going to be anything more than a feeling, because you're not going to have a lot of facts. You're not going to be, well, I mean, you can use astrology and say, well, Pluto's doing this, Saturn is doing this. So yeah, that's factual. But like if you're having a conversation with a friend or a lover or a colleague or something, and you'll be like, just something is in the air. And they're like, well, what do you mean? You're like, I don't know. It just feels that way. I don't really know where it's going. I don't know how it's changing, but it is changing. It's like how you know when you wake up one day that it's no longer summer, it's officially fall, right? It's like you just know, you can, it's just, I don't know, it's just obvious, but not perceivable. Now I look at the Emperor and I see strength, I see autonomy and sovereignty. I see Taurus. We love Taurus for their ability to be highly self-reliant. And I know that you have learned a lot of lessons about that. And we actually all have with the North Node and Uranus coming through here, being self-sufficient, reliant upon oneself, and really taking accountability and taking responsibility for a lot of things. And to a degree, now I'm going to say something a little controversial, but bear with me through the thought. It's like you take responsibility for yourself. But in a way, I feel like you're also taking responsibility for everyone. But when I say responsibility for everyone, I don't mean that you're bearing the load of the consequences of everyone. More that you're taking responsibility for how everyone interacts with you and the experiences that you have with them. You're taking into account your own energy, your own frequency, and whatever you had going on internally, right? Like if you had feelings of inferiority, like if you were feeling inferior, let's just use that as an example, but it could be insecure, it could be lack of worthiness, whatever the thing is, then it wouldn't be surprising that you had experiences where someone came into your life and then treated you as someone inferior. They came out superior, right? Or whatever it is. If you had feelings of lack of worthiness or a lot of disrespect toward yourself, it would be no surprise that someone would come in, do something or say something that made you feel disrespected. So there's and I'm not saying that we are responsible for every bad thing that happens to us, but we do have to understand on a deeper level the way that all of our waves, right, all of our energy, vibes, frequencies, whatever you want to call it, the way that it is dancing with everything else. And that when one harmonic comes in contact with another one, that those two together are either going to sound great and they're going to flow and it's going to work out, or it's going to be like a big old mess and it's going to sound terrible and it's going to sound like fingernails down a chalkboard. But either way, there is still a contribution on your part. And so I feel that the Emperor is someone that absolutely takes full accountability and full responsibility for their contribution, not everything that happened, but yet still for their contribution, be it through an action, a word, or a thought, okay? Either whatever it is, or even an emotion. And this is you deciding, Queen of Cups, right? Having that communal moment with God and saying, I don't ever want to go back there. I am committing, here's the choice, I am committing to myself to release this so that I do not have to go into this future chapter with a whole bunch of gunk in my energy centers. I'm kind of envisioning, so I'm doing some housework here, and when we were redoing the kitchen, we had to redo the floors, and therefore we had to move the vents for the HVAC system around, right? We had to kind of get new vent placements. And before they turned on the vents, the contractor was like, look, we're not going to turn this on because there is so much dirt and dust and just gross stuff in your vents right now. You need to get them cleaned before we can turn on the air conditioner or the heater. Otherwise, all that stuff, not only is it going to get into the air and you're going to breathe it, but it's also going to clog up the whole system. So it's kind of like that. It's don't turn on the whole mechanism or the whole machine yet until you've got all the pipes cleaned. Don't turn on the machine until you know for a fact that it's well oiled, right? You don't turn something on unless you know that you've got the right power socket, right? Because you don't want to be having your American appliances trying to plug it into a UK outlet or something, right? Because it's going to blow a fuse or something, okay? So we have to make sure that we've got that all cleaned up. That's what's going on here. And you're releasing and you're purging and you're healing. This full moon in Aries, I think, is actually, of all the things happening, I actually think that full moon in Aries is going to be the biggest part, and also the new moon in Scorpio. It's the moon cycle is the biggest for Taurus right now. But here you are determined, and I know you are determined. You're determined to purify, and I'm kind of even getting a baptismal quality with the Queen of Cups, with the water element, and even with the world. I often feel I always envision that old movie Stargate. I think it was called Stargate, right? Where they had the big portal, and it was this big circle thing, and then in the circle it was this wavy, shiny, sparkly material, right, that they had to kind of go through. kind of what I'm seeing here with the world. It's baptismal, it's purifying. There is an actual crossover with something. Humility is going to be your best friend right now. In fact, that's true for everybody across the board. I mean, that's true normally. But I think when you approach the Creator like this, and when you convene within yourself and you find that wholeness within yourself, you can't help but be humbled. Sixth house will do that to you. It's a very karmic house, right? Sun and Venus, and then eventually Mercury comes through there. You are going to be humbled. And I don't mean that some external event is going to happen and then humble you, although that might be the case for some. But generally speaking, I think you are going to choose humility. You're going to choose to kind of feel entirely powerful and then realize a lot of the powerlessness that you have. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just kind of recognizing the universal influence at large, the higher intelligence at large, and understanding in scale and in perspective how powerless you actually are. Actually, maybe that's something that you're balancing out. It's like humility and powerlessness for the Creator, but then true empowerment and taking accountability and responsibility for yourself. Balance of both with the Lovers. That makes sense. Now we have the Queen of Wands and we have the King of Swords. I love both of these. Both of these are upright. They both give high quality vibes. Although I'm feeling that this Queen of Wands is you, because it kind of matches the Queen energy here. And the King of Swords, I feel, is someone external from you. First of all, the Queen of Wands, she is ambitious. She is motivated, and she's extraordinarily passionate. And she's fun. Okay, she really likes to have the fun in her life. And she tends to see beauty. She tends to see the good, but I don't see impulsiveness with her right now, especially not with the Knight of Coins directly above her. You are, I think, building greater levels of passion in your heart. You are starting to feel something surface, which is going to change the direction. It's going to change the trajectory of things. But I think she's still sitting down waiting for the right moment. And the King of Swords, now this may be a partner for some of you, like a romantic partner. We do have the Lovers here. We do have a new moon eclipse in Scorpio, which is 7th house activation. So there could be a relationship thing going on. There could be a business partnership or anything like that. And with Libra, there is often, it's like you and another person. All right. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is like a main character other than, or like two main characters, you and the other person. The King of Swords, I feel, is a strong leader. They have a lot of success in their life, or they are going after a lot of success. What's interesting is I'm seeing a lack of accessibility for you, Taurus, but I'm also seeing a lack of accessibility for them. But when it comes to each other, you're like always available for each other no matter what. So like obviously this could be a spouse, right? Or it could be a best friend or a business partner. But they are prioritizing in the same way that you are prioritizing. I like how you're both facing forward anyway. This one, she's kind of looking over here a little bit, but you're still like both face forward. You may be taking a few cues from the King of Swords here and looking to them and saying, do we have compatible desires right now? Do we have compatible views? Are we going to make it through this portal together? Are we going to make it into this new world together? Are we going to be able to really last? Are we going to be able to build the things that we said we were going to build? I think the King of Swords will be very reassuring for you and says, Taurus, yes, we'll be able to keep doing this. Yes, we'll be able to stay together. I don't see any reason to believe that there will be a split. Although that new moon in Scorpio, it's either do or die. It's a very black and white kind of thing. It either goes left or right. There is no in between. If you are in a rocky situation or a rocky relationship and you're wanting out, it is possible that over the next 6 months, that relationship will end. But I don't see that in the cards, so I'm just saying that based on the astrology. But this is an opportunity for commitments to deepen. But it's almost as though you're needing to like hold each other and keep each other strong and keep each other upright while this sort of astrological environment shifts and changes. And again, it will probably be like for the next 6 months to a year, you'll just have to kind of be really understanding with one another. And I think you can be. I really love this combination a lot, like really, really a lot. And if you're hoping to meet somebody, it's also probable that you will. There's somebody. I don't know who it is, but there is somebody, and I really like them. Okay? I like them for you, Taurus. Okay, let's go ahead and pull out the clarifiers. Let's get some more information. Now, if you're new, bear with me. I'm about to say a bunch of things. So the cards I'm about to pull out are the cards I will cover in the comprehensive reading. Now, we usually talk for another 25 to 30 minutes about these cards, and the link and information for that can be found in the description box and the comment thread down below. There are a bunch of options. You can just do a single one-off purchase. That's no problem. You can also subscribe, which will give you automatic access. And as soon as these are published, you'll get a link emailed to you letting you know where you can watch the comprehensive. You also, if you do that, you also get access to like the weekly extendeds that I do for each zodiac sign, both on Monday, and then the love readings that I do on Friday. And then if you want to be a soul seeker, we have even more exclusive content going on in there. So check out the description for more info. Okay. So let's take a look here. More information for the Queen of Cups. We have the Fool. Taurus, definitely not wanting to make any stupid decisions right now. That's clearly in the stars right now. No one is wanting to make stupid decisions. Everyone is carefully analyzing their options right now, weighing out, as we do in Libra season, weighing out the consequences of certain choices. Ace of Swords reversed. Ten of Wands. Beautiful. Love the Sun. Okay. Take a look here at the Eight of Swords. Beautiful Sun. Three of Swords. I think Taurus just really wants to see the light, you know. You want the lightness, the joy, the serenity, the excitement, the passion. Beautiful. Emperor reversed. Justice reversed. Ooh, King of Cups reversed. Not liking that Seven of Wands all that much. Judgment reversed. Six of Swords. Okay, for the World, we have Wheel of Fortune reversed, Six of Coins reversed, Three of Cups, excellent. Seven of Swords reversed. lot of and this is what I mean, like the powerlessness and the powerlessness in regards to the creator, but a lot of power in regards to the self, and finding the balance between those two, and finding and learning how to integrate them to be your maximum self. So we have the Hermit, Queen of Coins reversed, love the Nine of Cups, Three of Wands, Seven of Coins, Five of Wands, Empress reversed, Lovers. Something special about that King of Swords. Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords. I'm laughing because it's like there's fear around it because it is special. Okay. All right. So this is where we're going to pick up in the comprehensive. Be sure also to join me for the astrology portion. So click the timestamp or just wait after this, and that will come on next. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a great October. I love you. Talk to you soon. Take care. Hello, Taurus. Welcome to the astrology portion of this reading. So this is just something new that I'm starting to implement. Let me know if you guys like it or not. I don't know if I'll continue doing it. I just figured we'd give it a go, see how everyone responds to it. And full disclaimer, I am recording this astrology portion before the cards. Okay, so I won't be making any references to the tarot card reading. October is a really eventful month. All right, so there's a lot to talk about. We have a couple of the outer planets moving direct. We have eclipses. We have a full moon conjunct Chiron. We have a Venus-Sun conjunction. All right, there's just a lot. So let's start with the fact that here's the sun, October 1st. The sun is sitting at 8 degrees of Libra, and Venus has just entered as of September 29th into Libra as well. Why is this a big deal? Well, because she is in rulership here. This is her domicile. So she's very strong. She's very strong. This is 6th house activation for you. So just that notion alone, Venus and the sun in the 6th house, this is an excellent time. It's kind of like piggybacking on Virgo season a little bit. This is an excellent time to get your house in order. Take care of issues with your health. Take care of your home. Kind of work out which habits are useful and good and are contributing to the dream and which ones are not. Venus comes in and has a very stabilizing effect, okay? Libra, as we know, is all about finding balance with things. Sometimes that process can be a little bit chaotic though, because it's always, we're never really truly in a state of actual balance. There's just more counterbalance that happens. So if there are areas where you've neglected, this is probably a good time to say, okay, well, I've dedicated enough time and energy and resources over here. And I know that through August and September, the theme of reallocation was really strong, where we were taking away from one thing to go toward another. But now with Libra, it's like, okay, I think we've gotten the ball rolling enough with that new direction that we can kind of go back to those old or other things and start to sort those things out as well. And so you may find an established level of balance in your life to a degree anyway. We also have Mercury. Now he is going to be going direct on the 2nd, and then he'll be re-entering into Libra on the 10th. I keep messing that up, on the 10th. And he's going to be joining Venus and the sun here as well. So I feel as though the transaction component of things, if you're building anything, if you're putting anything together, the production element of stuff will be very strong for Taurus. So any new initiatives that you have in your life, now is an excellent time to like do the busy work to build the infrastructure and to put together the systems and the mechanisms to put them in place to facilitate ease of completion, okay? And it's a little bit more mechanical. The sixth house is most definitely not a romantic house by any stretch of the imagination. And being in Libra, there is that component of working with other people, or at least one other person, integrating their ideas, or providing for someone else's needs as well, with the service component of the sixth house. I do think that Taurus right now is really aware of other people, aware of their feelings and their thoughts, and not for the sake of like self-sacrifice or anything. It's just an awareness of what other people are thinking and feeling. You're just really sensitive and picking up on this beautiful energy. And because of that sensitivity, you will be able to adjust, as Libra season is perfect for, to make adjustments to accommodate for the success of everybody involved. Now, another thing, well, let's kind of focus at the beginning of the month, all right? Because on October 8th, we have Pluto going direct in Capricorn. This is big for Taurus, huge, because this is now starting to move forward toward Aquarius. Now, I'm going to be talking about this forever, all right? Week after week, month after month, I will continue to bring up the fact that Pluto is coming into Aquarius. It's a 20-year chapter ahead of us, but we're closing out the last 15 years. All right, we're kind of coming to an end, and I think we can all feel that. We can all feel like we can't go back to the way it used to be. We have to embrace the future. We have to embrace reform within our lives. And for you, because this is like right next to this 10th house cusp right here, this has a lot to do with like your direction in life. It has to do with your ambitions. And maybe with Saturn, which is also going direct, but not till later, not till the October 23rd, but Saturn is going direct. And I think the past couple of years, Taurus has been feeling the pressure of reassessment here, of like, okay, well, I know something needs to change, but I may not necessarily know what, and I may not necessarily be ready to let go of the long-standing systems and structures that I've had in place in my life. I feel like Taurus has been very teeter-tottery on a lot of things in terms of their personal ambitions because of this. But next March, when Saturn moves into Pisces and Pluto moves into Aquarius for the first time, that is when this deep desire, because Pluto really uproots a lot of deep inner desire here. And that is what is going to propel significant changes for you in your professional, or maybe it might not even be professional, but just in terms of like your life purpose path. Okay. So yes, Saturn is moving direct on the 23rd, but again, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So October 8th, Pluto goes direct. October 9th, we have this full moon in Aries, which is going to be conjunct Chiron. So because this is in your 12th house, it is highly likely that some kind of identity, as we see here, and because Aries is ruled by Mars, we have to kind of look at where Mars is and what Mars is doing as well. I feel that there is a new direction in terms of your self-worth, and how that self-worth is applying into your livelihood. And in order to do that, you are having or needing to illuminate some residual wounding that has kept you from truly making the progress that you know you would like to make. There's a lot of spiritual healing that can happen with Chiron through the 12th. Yes, it can be a little bit of an isolated or a lonely placement. It can feel like you're kind of going through this all by yourself and people don't understand. But I think this full moon will illuminate or accentuate to some degree this notion that through the shedding of an identity that is false, that you become more authentic and real and true. And when you do that and you are more aligned with your sense of value, then you can execute, as Mars is going to want you to do to some degree, even though he is preparing for a retrograde, but then you can truly execute new initiatives for yourself for the sake of a better life. I do think Taurus with this North Node Uranus conjunction is absolutely going through an identity reform. How you see yourself, how you want the world to see yourself, and that is all stemming from a sense of self-value and a sense of self-worth, a feeling of deserving, a feeling truly connected with the divinity within yourself. And it's a slow process. It's not something that usually happens overnight. There's incremental moments, right, that we kind of are breadcrumbed toward this place of truly feeling ready and excited and passionate to show up in a new kind of way. And when Pluto does come into that 10th house eventually, and again, he'll be going back and forth over the next couple of years, he will officially enter Aquarius like for good in 2024. But there probably will be some kind of a massive identity reinvention that happens in the beginning of that transit for Taurus, and it's already starting right now with this North Node Uranus conjunction. Okay, so we have Pluto on the 8th, full moon on the 9th, and then Mercury entering into Libra on the 10th. So we got kind of a little cluster of events happening at the beginning. And then on the 23rd, like I mentioned, that's when Saturn goes direct. It's also the time when Venus and the Sun conjunct together are both going to move into Scorpio. And then 2 days later, we have the new moon eclipse in Scorpio. And then so begins the Scorpio season eclipse cycle. The full moon eclipse is happening November 8th in your sign conjunct Uranus. So we're really going to start to see that all through October building up, and then even through November as well. This is like peak time for Scorpio and Taurus. This is a peak moment in time for you to integrate the new things that are needing to be integrated. Okay, now Venus and the Sun are going to be conjunct all month. We can see October 1st, 3 degrees for Venus, 8 degrees for the Sun. That's a 5-degree difference, right? So they're going to be conjunct. Slowly but surely, Venus is going to catch up to the Sun, and that's like that same day, then they move into Scorpio together. But the conjunction of Venus and the Sun, really, Venus especially important because she's your ruling planet. This conjunction is truly here to accentuate and illuminate the importance of the things that you value. So whether you value beauty or you value peace, you value security, you value freedom or space, like whatever it is that you value, the Sun is going to make sure that that becomes a priority in your life. And being in the 6th house, you have the opportunity to kind of alter your daily actions, because of course the 6th house is all about kind of the small things in life. We get to alter our daily actions to align in a grander scale with the things that we value. And so you may see, now I'm going to do a whole video on manifesting with eclipses. Okay, a lot of people say don't do that, there's dark energy, it's bad. I personally highly disagree, and I've made that very clear that I disagree. But you have to know how to use an eclipse properly, and you have to, especially with this series of eclipses, because Scorpio is involved, you have to expect destruction. Okay, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to manifest something on the new moon and it's all going to work out great. It's like, no, you're going to probably manifest something for long term. And again, I'll talk about that in that video, so stay tuned for that. You can manifest something for long term, and I mean like decades, like 10 to 20 years out. You can manifest long term, and you can expect immediate destruction after that. And some people are very afraid of destruction because they are still in maybe a survival mode. And if that's the case, then maybe sit this one out. But if you're ready for the changes that you say you're ready for, This new moon eclipse is going to be beautiful for that because it is happening in like the Scorpio ruled decan. In modern Western astrology, we have Pluto as the ruler of that first 10 degrees. In traditional astrology, we have Mars. So either way, Mars or Pluto, doesn't really matter. That's where that eclipse is happening. So it will be destructive. But if you can like stomach that and you can embrace it and you can understand the grand scheme of what's happening, this will be a fantastic opportunity for you. Again, we'll do a whole video on that later on. Just stay tuned. Just a heads up, an FYI, okay? Because then what's going to happen is, again, in November, getting ahead of myself, but it's good to prepare. We have the full moon eclipse happening in your sign, conjunct Uranus, which of course is highly volatile, unpredictable, and there's this notion of change. And I keep using the word reform. Okay, so we get to reform and make changes here. We also have Jupiter moving back into Pisces. Now, I personally believe that this is a great chance. It's like a last chance to really tap into our ultimate optimism. Maybe a little bit blind, but I think that's good because it gets us to think bigger. It gets us to go beyond the bound. See, because even with Saturn in the 10th, you may be quite realistic with the goals, right? It's like, well, I'm going to set my 10-year goal and then I'll break it down into 1-year goals and then 6 months and then 1 month, right? What can I do this month that's going to lead to that 10-year goal? But maybe even that 10-year goal is something that you know you'll achieve. And while there's nothing wrong with that, the question is if you aimed for something bigger or beyond this boundary, would you not then be more likely to attain it, which would surpass the realistic boundary? Maybe it won't exactly hit the full fantasy, but maybe you'll get closer to the fantasy than you would if you had just aimed for the thing that was realistic. So Jupiter is coming again into Pisces, dipping back in and saying, hey, you got to go bigger. And I've been saying that since really around this season last year. For a full year, I've been saying that. You got to think bigger, got to think bigger, got to think bigger. You have to dream bigger. You have to push yourself to get out of that realistic bubble and start thinking about the things that you're almost afraid to dream about because it seems so unattainable. Okay? Jupiter helping us with that in order to get us to expand. Because what's going to happen next year, Jupiter is going to come barreling through Aries. It's going to be moving very, very fast, but it's going to come into a conjunction with Chiron in there. And that's not going to be the best transit. Because, of course, Jupiter expands things and Chiron has a lot of wounding involved with it, but it'll only last for a while, but it's going to come over and then it's going to enter into your sign and it's going to join the node, it's going to join Uranus, and there's going to be a huge expansion of self for you through 2023 and on into 24. All right, and that's happening after the transitions are starting to happen with Saturn and Pluto. So next year is just big in general. There's just so many things happening. The most notable, obviously, is Pluto. But even still, you're going to continue through the first part of the year, continue to have this nodal energy, and the Uranian energy will stay here as well. But with Jupiter, that expands. Okay, so yes, October is a big month. A lot of things happening. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that. I know I told you I haven't recorded the cards yet, so I'm going to go do the cards. And let me know what you think in the comments, how you like the astrology portion, and if you would like to see it every single month. And don't forget that if you are a subscriber, to please log into the website to access the comprehensives. All right, thank you so much. Have a good one. Take care.